Good morning, Buffaloes Nation. Welcome to Episode 2 of Season 2 of the official Pilot Mound Hockey Academy podcast, the Buffaloes podcast here on G-Show Productions on our YouTube channel. Our website currently down right now, but we are working on getting it back up. It will be for next week's episode for sure. This episode brought to you by Mid-Canton Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. If you want to stay up to date with all things to do with the podcast here, by the way, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you are a fan of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy content. In terms of this episode, it's going to be an all-male U18 guest featured episode for the most part. In terms of the coaches, try getting both goaltenders on, and Tate Sanchez and Aiden Trapp, but didn't quite work out this weekend. We'll have them on for next week. We got two coaches from the U18 male staff joining the show today, as well as Gordie Tumilson. But before we get into any of that, I just want to say a big congratulations to U17 forward in Jack Adams and U15 forward in Matson Adams on competing for Pilot Mound Collegiate Institute's golf team and winning the Zone 6 Golf Championship. This group will be competing in Morden at the Provincials this Friday coming up. So best of luck to Jack, Matson, and the rest of that team. Best of luck, boys. Hope and continue to make some noise at the provincials coming up this week. But yeah, we're going to start off with it now. Not starting off with Gordie for this episode, as we usually do. We're going to start off with head coach Anthony Florentino, who came late to Pilot Mountain last season, but is settled in now and has a ton of confidence heading into this season with this year's group and the U18 program's third ever season, going on three from last year's second season in their academy history. So let's get into it. Joining me now will be Anthony Florentino, head coach of the Buffaloes U18 Male Prep Program, on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast for Season 2, Episode 2. It's Anthony Florentino, head coach of the U18 Prep Buffaloes, joining this edition of the show. Anthony, it's great to have you on. I know you weren't the head coach at the start of last year for this U18 male program, but you ended up taking over in the last month. Now you're the head coach for the 2024-2025 season for this team in the academy. How did it all come to be for you to join them in the last month of the season last year as the HC?
It was just an opportunity presented to me. And, we had a good group last year. They were great kids. And I was fortunate enough to work with them the whole year. And then, I guess my title changed, but the way I approached the kids and every day was the same. So, it just kind of presented itself right before playoffs, and the guys gave me a great last month of the year.
Yeah, and there was some success in that experience. I remember there were some wins in there for the U18 group down during that time, during those playoffs. And like you said, talking about how it was a good group. How huge was that, I guess, to end off a short stint for you as HC last year, ending off with some success with that group?
Yeah, I think I was just proud of them. For them to battle all year. It was a long year for him, and to send our grade 12s or the guys that didn't return off with a win was I was just happy for them. It's just some of those guys were done with minor hockey and moved on to junior, and just with the bond that they developed over the year, sticking together through some adversity. It was just really great to see for them, and just really proud of them overall.
Yeah, and of course, there were quite a few players that did graduate out of last year's program from the academy, and there are some returning players this year. But this team has had a chance to play two games so far this past weekend. We'll get into those in just a moment here, but it's been early. Obviously, not a lot of games have been played, only two so far, as mentioned. There's been a lot of practices, though. This group's been able to be with each other every day, basically, in the dorms. Describe this year's group and if there's any similarities from last year's to this year's carrying over.
Um, yeah, I mean this year we we got a good group. We got a lot of personalities. They've come together as a unit pretty quickly. So it's been good to see. A lot of compete, I guess, would be similarity. Last year's group worked hard, played with a lot of heart, and um, it's kind of the same this year. But um, on behalf of the team this year, we have a really good balance, top to bottom. And I think we're going to be a next man up type team where everybody's got a role and, like I said, next man up. So guys can step in when they need to.
Yeah, and for this team, I mean, not a ton of games on the schedule currently, just looking at the Pilot Hockey Academy website before regular season play, but going up against the Winnipeg High School Hockey League elite team this past weekend, one game in Winnipeg, one game at home. Blackjack Street Arena, winning both of them. The first one 3-1, and then the next one 5-1. For a group that saw improvements from their inaugural season as a team to last year, but to see even more improvement in terms of what a fast start this team got off to this past week, and how I guess inspiring is that to see.
Yeah, it's definitely reassuring. We had a lot of guys at junior camps, so we had a lot of skill work leading up to the week before our game. So I think we, only had a couple days of systems, and um, the best thing that we saw was the growth between the two games alone, making the adjustments we needed to, um, breaking down video, balancing that, and just kind of adapting to, um, playing with new guys and new systems and things like that. So it's been good to see.
I guess pretty promising to see as well, knowing that we're only in September here. It's a long season ahead. That of course will probably fly by the end of it as we know it. But to see this group adapting so early on, how promising is that to see from a coaching perspective? Just knowing that this team is going to buy in from the get-go.
Yeah, it's extremely promising. You know, Tyler Dixon, he's the other coach. He's been great. He's got a big focus in the skill department and the video department. And a lot of our guys are coming from programs that may not have had video or, had a big focus for the skill work. And just seeing them buy in every day when, you know, sometimes it gets repetitive or, it's pretty basic stuff some days, but they're committed and they're all on the same page, which is great to see. And I'm just really excited for this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tyler Dixon, you and him getting to coach together this season. What do you feel yourself and Tyler both bring to the table together as coaches so far?
Balance. I don't know everything about hockey. I think we complement each other well, where, maybe Tyler's got a better focus in one department compared to myself and vice versa. And just um, I guess the chemistry would be the best way to do it or to explain it. Where, with Tyler, I can set up cones and tell guys to go around it, but at the same time, he's breaking it down, really focusing on each guy specifically, which is been great because it's not everybody doing the same thing just to do it. It's focus on, individual players. And then the video comes into play where he's breaking down video on every single one of our guys in the team, and just really grateful to be working with them.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that complementary aspect is in place because it's good to have many perspectives out there within a coaching staff, which always makes things fun and interesting too. For this Buffaloes team, the next game's on the schedule coming up on the 21st against Indigenous Sports Academy, playing a back-to-back against them this weekend down in Whitewood, Saskatchewan. History between just this academy in general and Indigenous Sports Academy, there's always been, highly contested games, close games with high compete. How huge is that you feel for this group to get that type of taste early on from their first CSSHL opponents of the year?
Honestly, I think with the group that we have, high compete is just in their blood. We have kids that are just pure competitors and have set the bar really high. They hold each other to a high standard. And, when you have a group as close as we do, you just want the next guy to get better. And you can't do that unless you push each other. And when it comes to the compete aspect, um, I think that's one of our strong suits. So I think they're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see the results of those two games coming up this weekend. But obviously, we've talked about it so much throughout this interview. The compete is there with this team. They're looking to improve even more so off of their record from last year to this year. Of course, I'm sure that's a goal of getting better day in and day out. But I guess the goals right now, or one goal in particular that the coaching staff is set for the players that you'd like to, I guess, see this team go out and accomplish this season?
A championship. And, it starts going day by day. We tell our guys to, be in the moment and be present. And, you can't just look forward to the third period hoping that you're up 3 goals. So it's obviously a process, and we focus on trusting that process. But, you know, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't believe in our group to, do some damage. And our goal is a championship, as it should be. We could say, yeah, let's get better and, win this many games, but, our goal is a championship. And I stand by that. And I know Tyler does and the rest of our team does. So they're a hungry group. And yeah.
Hey, and you know what? Credit where credit's due. If you truly believe it, why not go out and say it, right? I love the confidence coming from yourself here, Anthony, and from what it sounds like the rest of this Buffaloes group. Extremely confident heading into the U18 Male Program's third ever year in existence for PMHA. Anthony, it's been great having you on. Best of luck this weekend coming up in Saskatchewan and the rest of the season. Looking forward to seeing what this U18 group can do.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Graham. Thank you.
Anthony Florentino joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions for episode 2, season 2, as the U18s, getting off to quite a strong start this season, going 2-0 against the Winnipeg High School Hockey League elite team, and love the confidence there from head coach Florentino. To have that belief from the very top. We're gonna get into it. Well, I'm gonna get into that type of question with Tyler Dixon, who's coming up on the show next. But as for the U18 male program, their next home game will be not until October 18th against Prairie Hockey Academy, where they'll be playing in a 3-weekend set. They got 4 home games in November as well on the schedule as of right now, and then won't be back to play at Blackjack Stewart Arena as of now up until the new year of 2025 on January 12th. Be sure to check out pilotmoundhockeyacademy.ca for the full schedule, stats, and everything else to do with the U18 male group and everyone else. on the academy in terms of their teams. By the way, it is Pilot Mound's 10th year anniversary, and no doubt about it, they're looking to make it a year to remember. Coming up, another head coach for the U18 Male Prep Buffaloes, who I'm sure is hoping to have this season be one that all the U18 male Buffaloes will remember. It's Tyler Dixon joining the show next year on the Buffaloes podcast for episode 2, season 2 here on G Show Productions. By the way, everybody, our website is back up to date. We'll try to get it live there during this interview with Tyler. But yeah, Mr. Dixon joining episode 2 now. Tyler Dixon, assistant coach of the U18 Male Prep Buffaloes, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Tyler, had a great conversation with your counterpart, head coach, and Anthony Florentino yesterday, and he talked about your strengths as a head coach. Seems like you have a passion for the skill set of the game specifically. Take me into who Tyler Dixon is as a coach out there for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, so I have a background in skill development, and I usually use video as a kind of means to help with that. So I've been coaching for about 10 years now, just back home in Halifax, and decided to make the move out to Pilot Mound, which very excited about. Yeah, so I have a background in skill development. I focus mostly on power skating and puck skills and stuff like that, which has translated to my coaching.
So, with that being said, the opportunity obviously presented itself for you to join the staff in Pilot Mound, a development program, of course, is all the programs in the CSSHL technically are. What made you take that opportunity and make the decision to make the move out to Pilot Mound to coach with this team?
Yeah, so Anthony reached out to me earlier in the summer, and I just, everything he said about the group that we were going to have, and the school itself just sound very exciting. And yeah, I've been looking to get more into a full-time coaching position. So when the opportunity came up, I jumped on it.
Anthony raved about this group when I was talking to him and says the goal for this team is a championship. A lot of confidence within a group that also started off the season very strong against the Winnipeg High School Hockey League elite teams this past weekend in Winnipeg and in Pilot Mountain. But what's it been like getting to work with this group specifically so far to start off in this young 2024-2025 season?
Yeah, it's been great. We have an awesome group. I really like the depth of our group. Great bunch of kids. They seem to have gotten along very well so far. And we've talked about how happy we are that they have gelled this quickly. That's the biggest thing for me, is making sure that we are a team, and that we are coming together as a group quickly, and that's happened right away, which is what you look for as a coach. And yeah, just the skill of our group, the grit. They work their butts off at every workout, at every practice. We've been in the shooting bay every day, so just really excited with the potential of this group, just with their work ethic.
Yeah, and I mean, they're with each other every day, which definitely helps. But to get that type of buy-in, and I said this to Anthony as well, but to get this buy-in so early on is, I think that it says a lot about this type of group. And, hopefully special things are on the horizon for this group this season. But how easier does it truly make that for yourself as a coach when all you're looking for is coachable players? You want that buy-in and you're getting it right from the start.
Yeah, it's made our jobs, a heck of a lot easier. Just again, I'll talk more on the skill development side for me, but pretty much everything I tell them to do, it's done immediately. There's no having to ask 2 or 3 times, which just leads to a lot more success. They tend to put the effort in, which again just makes everything we do a whole heck of a lot easier.
I'll get your perspective now on coaching with Anthony. He talked about how he's a guy that's not going to go as much into the depth of the skills and video as yourself. I'm sure you let him do his thing as well, but talk about from your perspective how you feel you both complement each other.
Yeah, Flo's great. He brings a lot of experience as far as playing goes, which I don't necessarily have. He's fantastic with the kids. He's a really great leader. He speaks very well. The kids respect him, and I think it's really important to have that presence in a coaching staff. And plus, he knows a ton about hockey. I've learned a lot from him already so far, and I'm eager to learn more from him. Again, he has a ton of experience in the game, so just trying to use that as you know a helpful tool to improve my coaching as well.
Yeah, and like I said, he displayed a lot of confidence on the show yesterday, claiming that the ultimate goal is a championship for this team. When, and he said that the group collectively buys into it, the rest of your coaching staff, yourself, and the players. When you're able to have that belief from the very top, though, and you already have that buy-in early on from the players, how much more impactful does that really mean in terms of the impression it gives that group of young men in the dressing room?
Sure. So we've done a lot of talk about goal setting, and we feel it's very important to set our goals as high as we possibly can. I think that just from a mindset perspective, it really helps the kids, really buy into our goal and to really see themselves, achieving minor goals along the way. So just, I think it's very important to have that mindset, especially coming from me and Anthony, just to have that confidence and have the belief in them that they can achieve that goal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think that is definitely the way to look at it, especially when you feel that this group could do some interesting things, some special things this season for sure. But next game's coming up will be this weekend in Whitewood, Saskatchewan against Indigenous Sports Academy. It's going to be your first time coaching in this league against another CSSHL team. How excited are you for that opportunity to get out there with the boys?
Yeah, I'm fired up. This past weekend was, very exciting. We've been practicing for weeks now, and it was great to be back in game shape, we'll call it. But yeah, just really excited to get a game in against a league opponent, and try and keep the positives rolling. There was a lot of good this past weekend, so just keep chipping away at the stuff we're working on, and yeah, really excited to keep moving.
Well, should be a good couple of games in Saskatchewan this weekend, no matter the outcome for the Buffalo's U18 Male Prep program. Looking to get better and better as they get set for their 2024-2025 season, which will be upon us before we know it. But Tyler, thanks for taking the time, and yeah, keep enjoying your time with this Buffalo's group this season. I'm sure we'll talk at some point later this year.
Thanks for having me.
Tyler Dixon joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, the U18 male prep division of the show. We will feature guests from the U17s, U15s, and even U18s next week, as Tate Sanchez and Aiden Trapp will be joining that edition of the show. But as for the U18 male program, they'll be, of course, back in action coming up against Indigenous Sports Academy this weekend. So right back at it for the Buffaloes as they get set for what they're hoping to be their most successful regular season as a hockey academy. As for the rest of the games, or not as a hockey academy, as a program from this hockey academy, as I should say, but yeah, as for the schedule for the rest of the games, the home games for this year, we'll be showing those after this upcoming interview with Gordie Tumilson, where he sits down with me to recap the U18's past weekend, preview their upcoming weekend, as well as doing the same with the U17s and the U18 female prep Buffaloes, who only played one game against the Pembina Valley Hawks and will be heading to Portage for a big preseason showcase this weekend. You won't want to miss it. Coming up next on the final interview of this episode with Gordie Tumilson, man of many hats at Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. Joining me next. Gordie Tumilson joining me for his weekly segment here on the Buffaloes podcast. His favorite show, your favorite show, everybody's favorite show. I hope that is tuning in. But Gordie, we saw some W's on the board this past weekend for Pilot Mound Hockey Academy team. Since this is a U18 male themed episode, let's start off with them. Of course, not going up against CSSHL competition, but the elite of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, winning both games pretty convincingly. Take me through their weekend, both in Winnipeg and Blackjack Stewart Arena back in Pilot Mound this weekend.
Yeah, the first game was in Seven Oaks Arena, and I was able to attend that one in person. And it's always nice to do that. You get sort of the sounds and the smells and the crashing around at the rink. We won it pretty handily, actually, 3-1. Good game, first game of the season for our team, and it was a win. So that's better than last year already, and a good Winnipeg high school team. Those kids could all play AAA,
Yep.
and so good on our guys to have been as good as we were in our first game and being only together for maybe 8 or 9 practices. So good for the Buffaloes for a change. Thank you. That was great.
Yeah, and I mean, for this team, like you said, going up against the best in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, players that can play AAA, there's been a lot more talent going over to high school on the male side as I guess the last 10 years have gone along, really. As far as I can remember, it really popping off starting in 2014-15. But yeah, for this team, I had a chance to, of course, talk with Anthony Florentino and Tyler Dixon in this episode already, and there's a lot of confidence from them and a lot of confidence from this group. When you have that in place, could make for a pretty successful potential season coming up.
Sure. I mean, the kids are feeling good about things right away, and they look a whole lot better. I mean, the talent's better. And not to take away from the kids who were here before, but the talent's better and they're quicker. They move the puck quicker. Their hockey IQ's quicker. The whole thing's just better. And so we expect to be better in the season. And, if I had to put a prediction on this, I would say that, we had a team that was in a 30 team league. We would be at the bottom of that to 28, 29, 30 somewhere last year. And only our second year of operation. So not terrible, not bad, just what it is. This year, I would hope that we'd be in around the 20th position, moving up about 10 spots, maybe 8, 10 spots, somewhere like that, because we're going to be that much better. We've got a great coaching staff. I mean, Anthony's, played pro hockey. He knows his stuff. Tyler Dixon's got a great chunk of experience out in Nova Scotia, and with provincial teams, etc. We're going to have a much better team, and if they all pull together, we're going to be better in the standings as well.
Yeah, and talking to Anthony, as our viewers heard it in the show already, his big goal is a championship, Gordie. So they're shooting for more this season, and I love the confidence coming from this U18 group. You gotta love the vibes, and yeah, hoping the best for them this season coming up. Of course, we'll be talking about them pretty much anytime we can this season when they're in action, me and Gordie. But let's move on to the U17s. They went to Weyburn, playing Saskatchewan this past weekend, and they split their games, winning one, losing one. Of course, a team that doesn't have Carson Carrolls, missing some players from last year's team that made them so successful, but like getting a good chunk of returning players back. The new players to the program having a chance to suit up in a U17 jersey for the first time. Just the overall consensus from how this past weekend went with the U17s.
Yeah, two really good games. We were a little bit better on the first game on Saturday evening, and then the other team was about the same. I think probably the big difference was our goaltending, and our first game goaltending was steady and participated well, and Barry Hayes did a good job from Thunder Bay, Ontario, did a good job for us. Not quite the same for Matt Palmer the next day, but it's interesting. Matt Palmer comes to us, had never played a AAA game before in Alberta. And that was kind of an odd thing. He's a AAA quality goalie. And he said to me after the game, he was kind of nervous, and it showed a little bit. So he got his first AAA game in under his belt. He's a really, really good goalie. I have no idea why he could not play AAA in Alberta, but nonetheless, those are things that happen. And we've got him, and we're looking forward to him being a stalwart guy for us. He's a little shaky in his first game, but he knows what to do in games number 2 and beyond.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember last year for this team, they when they weren't winning games, they were always close in them, and that's exactly what they were, close in that 4-2 loss to Weyburn, a big 7-3 win, and yeah, impressive that he hasn't played before the AAA game in Matthew Palmer, even though you said he's the equivalent of a AAA goaltender himself. But for this U17 team, what they got up next on the schedule, as I just pull it up here for myself, Gordie.
At
They
the
will
rink
be
on
taking on the
Friday,
rink on Friday,
at
as well
home.
as Indigenous Sports Academy in a, I guess, back-to-back in a way. One game on Saturday, another on Sunday. Both games will be in Whitewood, Saskatchewan. So big bus trip after that game against the Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg team. I'm sure they'll be leaving the next day since Friday's game is going to be played at 7 p.m. But the expectations getting even better for the U17s in this early 2024-2025 campaign.
Well, sure. I mean, we're going to find out just where we stand at the beginning of the season, at least playing the rink. I mean, they're going to be a good team, and so we're looking forward to playing that and getting kind of assess our guys. And for our kids, most of them, half of them have not played, in this competition before, and so we're going to find out just where they stand, and they're going to find out where they stand, and that's a good thing. We'll get that out of the way, and they'll play the games, and then the Indigenous guys on Saturday and Sunday it's great because we are going to sleep in and sleep in our own beds on Friday night, get up in the morning and travel to Whitewood, Saskatchewan, and then play 2 games there. And that'll be great for our guys to again play CSSHL competition and probably more in the middle of the pack competition that we would expect anyway. And hope and we'll find out where we sit there too. So we're going to get a good CSSHL weekend, and we look forward to assessing what we've got, and then obviously making the adjustments that we need to make as we go along.
Yeah, and from the history of these two teams, there's been times where this U17 team has dominated Indigenous Sports Academy on the scoreboard, but there's been other times where it's been
Mm.
pretty competitive among all the teams that have played that program from PMHA. But I guess, it's huge. Maybe it's not the biggest thing, but I think it's the little things that help, like this sleeping in your own bed. How huge is that for this team to get off to an advantage, I guess, heading into the weekend? They'll still have bus legs, but getting a good night's sleep in your own bed is always nice, hey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they'll sleep, they'll get breakfast, they'll get on the bus, get there, they'll walk around, get those bus legs out of the way, and be able to play. And you talk about the competition for these guys. Um, yeah, it's kids hockey, and kids hockey's kind of can be all over the place. As good as they are, as actual players, what's going on emotionally in that moment against that team. You play one game against. We usually play the Indigenous guys twice. Seems like we always play them twice at least in a row. And one game we're up here, next game we're down there. Doesn't matter which one. So, and then they come up flying the next game. My gosh, but it's always competitive, and they go at each other pretty hard. So, two good competitive hockey teams will play 2 good competitive games on the weekend.
Yeah, and consistency is something that many teams looking for, all teams I'd say are looking for, and the U17s looking for that this weekend against the Indigenous Sports Academy, looking for a big one against the Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg squad as well. Ending off with the U18 female prep team, Gordie. They played one game this weekend out in Pilot Mound, and it was against the Pembina Valley Hawks from the Manitoba Female Hockey League. I believe the score was 5-2 for Pembina Valley, a team that always seems to give Pilot Mound good battles, that always seem to play this U18 female squad in exhibition play specifically. Yeah, thoughts from that game? Hard fought one from the Buffalo side, I assume.
Yeah, a couple of goals late in the third period caused that 5-2 score, but nonetheless, it was a good game. We started off really, really strong. Pembina Valley was maybe it was their first game, possibly in the exhibition series. So they went, they got off to a bit of a slow start, and they picked it up. It was a really good game right through. Yeah, and yeah, it was just a good game. I talked to our goalkeeper Sutter Reeves, one of our Lethbridge goalie, and she didn't think she had her best game. So we're looking forward to her. Again, that's that up and down thing. You play one good game the weekend before, and then you come back and you don't think you played as well in goal. So you're kind of going, okay, well, and so it's early, it's preseason. We don't worry about wins and losses. We worry about timing. That's the whole thing. Getting your timing, getting used to the teams and you're playing against, and being ready for start of the season.
Yeah, and both these teams still pretty fresh into the season, like pretty much every team is, unless you've somehow played a whack load of games leading up to this. Just for some context for the viewers at home, since we do cover the Manitoba Female Hockey League, we got our podcast coming out tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun for that. But yeah, Pembina Valley played an exhibition game against Westman, I believe 2 Sundays ago, and ended up losing in a close one. So this is a team that, yeah, will give teams probably some troubles this season on any given day, and it just happened to be against the Buffaloes, and Pembina Valley comes away with the win. But you talk about that goaltender on this team, obviously not feeling like she had her best game, but you talk about you don't worry about the wins and the losses at this point, specifically in the season. You worry more about the development aspect of things. But how huge is it to really be that positive voice on her shoulder to say, hey, it's a long season ahead, don't worry about it, put this one, throw this one away and worry about the next one.
Well, goalies carry such a weight. I mean, I'm not picking on anymore or giving them any more accolades than they deserve. They just carry the weight of the team. They play poorly, you don't win. You just don't win. If you play great, you might not win. You might just play great. So and if you have an average game, well, there you go. It's an average game, and it's kind of iffy. But if you don't feel like you're in it, you don't feel pretty good. You come away feeling like you let your team down. And goalies don't like that. They want to be. And we talk about a high level of consistency. And that's so one good game the previous weekend, and it's not feeling quite so good, not looking quite so good the next weekend. There's no consistency there. So we're building on that statement, a high level of consistency, but we don't worry about it in the middle of September. We worry about it in November and December and beyond. So we're just gonna wait and see how she reacts to that in practice and then the next games, and because we've got games coming up this weekend in Portage la Prairie. So we'll find out where our head's at anyway, following that series.
Yeah, going to be a busy weekend coming up for this U18 Female Prep Buffalo squad, as they'll be taking on the new addition to the Manitoba Female Hockey League and the Brandon Wheat Kings to kick off their weekend at Stride Place in the Central Plains Capitals Showcase. They'll be taking on the Westman Wildcats, the Interlake Lightning, the Yellowhead Chiefs. I forget if we talked about it last week, but those are going to be some quality teams early on for this Buffaloes team to play against. How huge is that so early in the season, getting this type of competition?
Well, we need it. We need to have good competition. The Manitoba AAA program is great, and we love playing these teams, and I hope they love playing us because it's good competition. When we get over to the CSSHL, then it's not as quite as big a surprise. We in terms of what we're going to see there. So yeah, let's bring on the best teams possible. Get ready for a great season, and see how our players react to playing great competition.
Yeah, these many players in this league, I think, could have spots in the CSSHL. It's all about that decision, right, for players if they want to play AAA or academy hockey. I think that's what's so great about hockey here, the amateur level in Manitoba in 2024, 2025, Gordie, is, you can move out of province, you can stay in. There's many places to play, and Pilot Mound, looking I've said it many times, promising so far to start off this season. It's going to be exciting to continue to talk about them next week with you, Gordie, on how all these games went and what the upcoming games are going to be like for these 4 teams in the academy. U15s will be starting their season soon as well. We'll talk about them next week. Until then, Gordie, you take care.
That's great, Graham. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, brought to you by his brand and goaltenders, Make Hand Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. The U15 Prep Buffaloes won't be at home until next month on October 12th. Well, they'll be taking on the Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg team. But as for this weekend for the Buffaloes U18s, they will be heading to Surrey, Manitoba to play in a AAA preseason tournament against the Pembina Valley Hawks, Southwest Cougars, Brandon Wheat Kings, and Eastman Selects before they play some CSSHL competition in Winnipeg at the Rink Training Center against Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg on next Friday. So, season is coming up, fast here, folks, and I'm really excited to see what these 4 teams in the academy can do this upcoming season. We're gonna keep tabs on all of it. Gonna try to find a way to get a Flow Hockey account too. Might have to just bite the bullet and pay for one, but yeah, hoping to bring many highlights and many positive things to the show this season, showcasing Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're only getting started here. This is only episode 2, and as for the schedules, only getting started on showing you guys these for the home games. I already showed you the U18 male programs earlier, by the way, but as for the U17s, they'll be, of course, playing at home coming up this week, so 3 days from now against RHA Winnipeg, and then of course the U17s, as me and Gordie talked about, are going to, as the schedule loads here on the website, they'll be heading out, of course, to Whitewood, Saskatchewan to face off against Indigenous Sports Academy. As for the U18 female prep Buffaloes, well, no home games until October 4th. That September 14th game has already been played, of course, but they'll be heading down to Portage la Prairie to play in the Central Plains Capitals female hockey showcase, as many teams are going to be involved in this one this year. I believe it's around 13 teams, but yeah, for the Buffaloes this weekend, they'll be taking on the Pembina Valley Hawks, the Brandon Wheat Kings U18 female team, the Westman Wildcats, and the Interlake Lightning, along with the Yellowhead Chiefs. Those games, not sure where they'll be broadcasted, but be sure to check back on Pilot Mound Hockey Academy's X account or on their social media for their score updates. And finally, for the U15s, they don't play a home game until the U18s, won't be back at home until the 18th against Prairie Hockey Academy. For more information on when all these teams are going to be in action, their schedules, be sure to check out pilotmoundhockeyacademy.ca for more details. We'll take one more transition here for this edition of the show, and I'll be back for some final words here on episode 2 of the Buffaloes podcast here in season 2 on gshow.ca. Well, you made it to the end of the Buffaloes podcast for episode 2, season 2. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. Thank you to you, the viewer, for taking the time out of your morning, your day, your night, whenever you may be watching your favorite podcast here, the official Pilot Mound Hockey Academy podcast. Thank you to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Make Hand Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, and Goaltenders for sponsoring another edition of this show. Thank you to Gordie Tumilson, as always, for coming on as a guest for another episode, as well as in Anthony Florentino and Tyler Dixon, 2 of the U18 Male Prep coaches. Thank you to them for coming on and making this such a great experience for this Wednesday morning episode. We'll be back again next week on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. We'll have a guest list officially posted leading up to that episode on our social media pages and on our website, which is back up and running again. I believe it might have been down for a few days now that I think about it, but we got it back again. All details will be posted there from here on out this season if you don't find us on social media about our upcoming episodes and anything else to do with Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy and G-Show Productions in general. But yeah, that's going to do it for this week, everybody. We're going to have Tyson Unroe take us away, Juno Award winner, with his theme song for this podcast, March of the Buffalo. Until next Wednesday morning, folks, have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. Enjoy all the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy hockey coming your way. And we'll see you soon in 7 days from now. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.